doing? You have your own intro or what?
Let's go. Let's get there.
He got so much energy. He ain't funny.
You don't even start, don't worry. But Jesus was there. Yeah.
You can say Thanksgiving and no one or everything and only for turkey.
For turkey, is what he said. Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's Thanksgiving.
It's Thanksgiving. It's all about turkey.
Then you get the turkey got cooked.
All right. I don't know where we're gonna start at, but all right. You gotta count us off or what? You gonna open it up? And say welcome to the No Name Podcast. Welcome to the No Name Podcast,
Yeah.
Thanksgiving edition.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys were with us in the last episode. We're continuing on. As you saw, we had like a video bomber, I guess you could call him, instead of photo bomber. So now he's joining us
decided
in,
to put him in.
to give his biblical insight on Thanksgiving. As we kind of, Thanksgiving's it's a holiday at one time of year where I guess, for the U.S. we celebrate, gratitude. But from a biblical standpoint, we're supposed to be celebrating gratitude all the time. It's supposed to be something that we continuously practice.
Correct.
And one of the things I was kind of reading on was, what is gratitude and where do we come from? And I saw this definition that I thought was theology of gratitude, I guess. And it says a right response to God's grace rooted in who he is and what he has done. And I think as I was kind of just reading that, there's a lot of things we can be thankful for. And I think sometimes, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think a lot of times we're thankful after the circumstance. So after we've seen the results, after we got the blessing, after we got that.
Yeah.
But one of the things about gratitude or how we're supposed to practice gratitude is we're supposed to be thanking God in all circumstances.
Yeah. Through good, bad, and indifferent.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that's one of the things, like when you start thinking about Thanksgiving and how we actually celebrate it, I mean, it's good that we have one time of the year to do that, where we get together and, you make the food, you get all together, you eat with your loved ones. And there's some people who probably go around the table and they say something they're thankful for.
Yeah, that's tradition. You got to do that.
Well, we never did it. Like I don't know.
We've done that.
We never went around and really said it. And
we were stuck scarfing up and let's go.
Yeah, we started eating. But but I think part of it is like, and like I said, it's a tradition and things that do, and there's nothing wrong with it. But one of the things that as you grow your relationship with God, you start becoming thankful for who he is. And that's one of the things about gratitude when you look at it from a biblical standpoint. Mm-hmm. If you look at Thanksgiving or gratitude or whatever word you want to tie into it, when you look at it from a secular standpoint, it's about positive thinking a lot of times.
Yep.
I'm going to be positive about, and the universe will send positivity back to me. There's all these things about vibes, I feel a positive vibe, and these positive vibes will come back. Mm-hmm. And you have that secular kind of positive thinking, and then you have the seasonal and the holidays, right? So you have these Thanksgiving, you have this time of Thanksgiving where, like I just said, people will go around the table, they'll say something they're thankful for. People will write thank you notes. People will give during this time. You see a lot of the food being given to the food bank and things of that sort. Yeah. And then you have gratitude that comes out of circumstances, right? So a lot of people are grateful after they've come through something, right? you've been sick for a long time and you get healed. You go through a financial crisis and you get out of it. You are in a dangerous situation and you come out of it. And we're all thankful. And the one thing that, as we were kind of talking about, the Bible really asks us to do it opposite, is to be grateful before anything happens, and just being grateful for who God is and not what he can do for us, but what he's already done for us.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I think as Christians, as we start growing in our relationship, is we start learning to thank God for who he is. And when you start seeing it that way, it's no longer about the blessing, but it's about the blesser. And we've made that statement a whole bunch of times, but that's one of the core essentials as you're growing in Christianity, is as you begin to know God, then you begin to thank him for who he is, right? You thank him for his mercy. You thank him for his grace. I think when you're young in Christianity, or you're a baby Christian, or you just came to Christianity, a lot of times you're thanking him because he's given you grace. You're thanking him because he saved you. You're thanking him for, he's helping you with a habit or an issue that you have. But you forget what he's done. And as you start growing, you begin to understand, but God's been doing this whole time, even before you were alive. Like the grace that he's given us, it wasn't something that became part of it the moment we asked for it. It's always been there. Yeah. Like he died on the cross for everyone, whether they accept it or not. So that grace has been freely given. And when you come to that point, you start becoming into this place of gratitude of who God is. God is someone who loves us unconditionally.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you want to, so in order for you to come to a point to where you have gratitude for like everything in your life, like total, I mean, like everything, like that has to be a point to where, you have grown in your relationship with God and then trusting in what God can do in your life. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can't, like most people, like, like for me, it was hard for me to understand, like, why should I be thankful for something that's going to affect me negatively? Like why should I be grateful for that? But however, in hindsight of all that, now as I've matured more and I know now, God has something to do with that. I feel, you know what I mean? Like, so for people, that's what I'm saying. For people who, that's something that you have to.
Well, that's part of the growth. That's part of the growth. That's part of the growth in it. But you have to start looking, and I think one of the things is gratitude comes as you begin to practice it, and you have to look and understand what it is. And it's part of the fruits of the Spirit. It's part of those things. And you said something there that's key. In there's a scripture that a lot of people like to quote, and it says, "Be thankful in all circumstances." And I think we confuse that in all circumstances we should be grateful that God is there with us and he's going through us. It doesn't mean that we have to be thankful for every circumstance. So it's a very big difference. You may not be thankful for the circumstance you're in, but you're thankful. Like most people are not going to be thankful that they have cancer, but they can be thankful that God is with them in the midst of cancer.
I'm not thankful that I got MS. I'm not thankful that I was in 3 cars. No, but I can see God through all of that.
Yeah. But here's one of the things, and as I was reading through this and kind of coming up with some scriptures and looking at different things, I used all different types of tools. I'll be clear. I read the Bible. I use commentaries. I like using ChatGPT as well to get some notes and things. And one of the things one of the notes that I found, which I think, and to your point, it all starts with this. And I think sometimes as baby Christians we miss it, and this is where it starts with having the relationship with God is. Gratitude all begins with God, not with blessings. Yep. Like it all starts with 100%. God, and that becomes in that as you get to know God, you're thankful for who He is. It's almost like, and we as human beings, I think we have built this. We've built this thing where maybe we've caused the misunderstanding of what it means to be thankful. Because a lot of times we say thank you when people do something for us, right? We're grateful when people have done something for us. Like, if someone goes and washes your car, you say thank you.
Yeah.
If someone brings you your food, you say thank you.
Somebody open the door for you.
But But how many times do you go to your parents or your spouse and just say, thank you for being you?
Mm-hmm.
Even when you're annoying, even when you're bothering me, even when you get on my nerves, just thank you for being you. Most of us, if any of us, rarely ever say that because we're
Not at all.
And that's one of the things we're thankful for when we see an outcome, a result, or something's been done. But one of the things that the Bible teaches us is God's already done so much for us. And so when gratitude begins with God, it begins with his character of who he is. And that starts with us understanding what is his character.
Yeah.
One, his character is, and I think it's in the book of John, it makes this very clear, is God is love. His character is an unconditional love that he formed us with his hand. He breathed life into us, that he's been there with us, that at any point he could have wiped us out, but he's had patience with us, right? That's another one of his characteristics is that he's patient with us, right? Most of us don't have patience for each other. I surely don't. I've lost my patience at time. I've grown frustrated with things but God is always patient with us. You can screw up 100 times and God is constantly patient with you. He can tell you the same thing again and again, and he has patience with us. And that's one of the things that you see when you're looking at the grace and the mercy of God. As you start understanding that characteristics, you start becoming thankful because of who he is, and you start becoming grateful. And that's why it all starts with God, and it starts with knowing who God is.
Man, bro, I could tell you, like, the level of gratitude that I have is crazy, man. Like, I could be in the shower sometimes and just be like, man, you know what? Thank you, God. I still got my hands. That I can still use my hands to wash up. You know what? Thank you, God, that I got this hot water. For real. I'm being serious, man. Because I think about people who in the streets who don't have showers and who don't have hot water. I'm in the bed, I'm in a comfortable bed, sleeping on the good covers, Then I wake up and I'm like, man, Lord, you know what? Thank you that I got a bed to sleep in. Thank you I got a roof over my head. Just thank you for the little things, man. That we as people, sometimes we just take it for granted.
Yep, and that's why I think it all starts with God. Like, you got to start having that relationship with him and getting to know about him. Because one of the things I've come to understand is when I am not grateful to God, it's because it has become about me,
self-sufficient, correct,
and then secondly, it's become about what God hasn't given me.
Yep. Instead
of what he's given me. A lot of times when we're not grateful is because, again, we think we deserve it. And that's the beauty of grace. People are always afraid of that word grace, but that's the beauty of grace, is that when you come to the humbling understanding that you have something that you don't deserve, it changes your view on it. I've been in a lot of places, I've talked to a lot of people, and when they hear grace, they always want to jump to Paul's scriptures of not abusing grace, right? Don't think it as a license to sin. And I think there's always going to be some people that do that. No matter what, you're always going to have extremists who do that. And as human beings, that's our natural thing, is we go and we test the boundaries of things.
Yeah.
But you can go to the so extreme of being afraid of grace that you forget the essence of it. And that's one of the things that when you truly come to understand grace and that it's something that you don't deserve, it's something you cannot earn, then it puts you in a place of gratefulness. Even if you abuse it, even if you mess up in it, you understand that you always come back to this core thing of it's something I didn't deserve. It's something I couldn't have earned. And it makes you grateful for what God has done and what he's doing in your life.
Yeah, right over there. Or you just keeping the eye on.
What do you want to say?
The turkey is what?
It's something to eat.
Oh, the turkey is something to eat. Yes, the turkey is something.
Yeah, I think
you like turkey now?
Turkey
that's good.
Yeah, I was reading Psalms 107 where it says, "Oh, that men would give thanks to the Lord for his goodness and for his wonderful works to the children of men. For he satisfies the longing soul and fills the hungry soul with goodness." Thanksgiving, I think it's a holiday for America. It's when I think Christopher Columbus got here,
Yeah.
and they celebrated with the Indians and started giving thanks and all that, and then it became a holiday for us, and I mean it's a good thing because it brings the families together, to unite, and just to be able to eat together and all that. Like me, I'm grateful that I'll be with my kids, my grandson over here that's trying to be a star now, and but I think we gotta learn how to give thanks to God every day. You know, no matter the circumstance. I wake up every morning. The first thing I do, I give God thanks for waking me up. Giving me another day, another opportunity. For whatever the challenge comes of that day. And I always tell the Lord, you help me, remind me of the good things you've done. Because sometimes we get spoiled, and we want God to give us everything, and we think that God's gonna throw red carpet and we're just gonna be going.
No, God is not
and
a
all
butler.
that, and but we live in a world that's imperfect. We're going to go through things. We're going to go through challenge. We're going to fail. We're going to fall. We're going to get discouraged. Sometimes we're going to have a hard time believing. But, that's why I like David, King David. Because no matter what David went through, no matter what his failures, he always had a relationship with God.
Yeah.
He always went back to God. Because he knew that God was the only one, no matter of his sins or that, and I believe that every day we should thank God. Sometimes, like now we had the government shut down. Some people didn't get their food stamps. Other people got furloughs, and they were struggling with money and all that, and I don't know how many are we're Christians or not, but that's where I believe you trust in God. We have a good government, no matter with all the faults. Our nation. Let me put it this way: our nation. I think we still live in the greatest nation in the world. And as long as we trust God, as long as they still allow us to worship God and give thanks to God. Still the greatest nation, and Thursday we're going to be eating turkey with rice and beans and, our traditional thing. And that will fill us up physically. But the psalmist said the soul, and the spirit, he'll feed and he'll give thirst, you see. Because sometimes when you do not have a relationship with God where you're praying, studying the Word, meditating on God, listening to worship, going to church and all that, you get away. You start thirsting for things, and you start hungering for things, and you start looking for other avenues to try to get to God, when all He wants is a relationship with you, and He will fill our thirst, and He will fill our hunger, but on Thursday, it's a tradition. We get together, we eat. Some people watch football games, other people watch movies. Whatever it is to get you together as a family, It can be with your whole extended family, or it can be just your family. Us, it's just us at our house, and whoever goes and visit us during that time. That's who we fellowship with and eat and have a good time. Have a good time. But we just gotta thank the Lord for whatever.
I think as we start moving into the practicality of it, is when you look at it. I was reading this, and I thought this was worded pretty good. It says, gratitude is anchored in God's character, goodness, mercy, sovereignty, and faithfulness. And that's one of the things, like when you're looking at being grateful to God, again, it's about going back to what He's done, His goodness, right? His goodness, and that He's had mercy on us, His grace on us, His sovereignty, that He's in control.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that's hard for us to, when you truly come to the understanding that God's in
Yeah.
control, like
Yeah.
then you let it go, which was kind of interesting to me in that, because this has always gone with me about giving as well. When you give your time, when you volunteer, when you give your money, when you, all these things, it goes with that. This next piece of Thanksgiving flows from recognizing that everything we have is from Him.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And that's one of the things.
100%.
That's one of the hardest things for us as human beings to do, is to recognize that everything we have, we may have put in that effort, but the reason we had that effort to do it was because God gave it to us. Yeah, we may have put in all those long hours and worked hard, but God gave us those ability, that characteristic and those things.
Yes, sir.
And He opened up the doors. And that's one of the hardest things for us sometimes as human beings, is recognizing that everything we have is truly of God. And that's one of the things why I think sometimes as human beings, we struggle to help each other. We struggle in giving of our time, our effort, our funds and different things. And this is not to try to get people to say, oh, you should give 10%, you should give this and that.
No, it's the truth. It's the truth.
Well, what I'm headed is, I think where the struggle is that we truly don't recognize that everything came from God.
Yeah.
And so we think we're giving away something that belongs to us.
Right.
And so when you do that, it becomes harder to give it away. And that goes with everything. If you've heard my preachings, one of the things I always say, people find it hard to give forgiveness because they think they're giving their forgiveness away, but you're giving a forgiveness that was given to you.
Mm-hmm.
You're giving a mercy that was given to you. You're giving a love that was given to you. And when you're given something abundantly, and that's what goes to that parable where, about the king and I can't remember the what they were, but he forgives this one man of this debt, right? And it was a great debt.
Oh yeah.
And this other man owes that forgiven man a smaller debt, and he goes and he pretty much chokes him, almost kills him to get his money. And the king finds out and he does something about it, but the thing there is about, he didn't recognize what was given to him. He took it for granted, almost like he deserved that forgiveness, and so then he couldn't pass it on to others. And that's sometimes the same thing for us, is like when it becomes for gratitude, it all has to be anchored in God and who He is. And I really think, like, when we really take thankfulness and gratitude serious, it becomes a form of worship. It becomes a spot where we're focusing on God and we're thankful. There's nothing wrong being thankful for the victories you had, but also just being thankful for what He's done and the things that we don't always see as victories, and the things that He's been there, and just that every day, like even in our day-to-day life, that God is constantly there with us, that He hasn't left us.
Nope.
He's given us peace in the midst of storms. Like, I was watching that show, The House of David. Have you seen it? It gives a good depiction of how Saul, is tormented by the Spirit. God's Spirit leaves him and he's tormented.
Yeah.
And I don't think we always take a look at that, but whether we're saved or not, God's Spirit is on this earth and it protects us from the ultimate. Yeah. Imagine if we all went through that. Like, I think the show does a good job of depicting how it almost drove him mad. Like, he could barely sleep. He was tormented by all these things. We all have done things in our life that we've been guilty of, shamed of, and things like that. And a lot of times we can sleep at night is because God's Spirit is there comforting us, and His grace and mercy is there. And we don't realize that. Like, imagine it. And even when we were in sin, His Spirit was still there. To have His Spirit lifted and have that torment constantly on us would drive us crazy. And you see the grace of God in that and understanding that. And I think that's one of the things that as you start getting to know God, you start realizing it's not just about the victories you've had, where you prayed and He blessed you with something, or He got you through something, but it's also just in the day-to-day life, the peace of mind that He gives you as you're going through the day-to-day life.
Yeah, man. It should be, like you said, it should just be all or nothing. Like, it's got to be that kind of attitude. Like you got to really have. But again, it's like you said, you got to have that kind of relationship with God in order to be able to be at that point in your life. Because look, let's be honest. We see and know a lot of Christians, we say all the time they're not happy, you know, and maybe it's because they're not grateful.
Well, and I think
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like-
and that's part of the thing. Like, gratitude is not an option in the Christian life. It's
No.
actually a commandment.
Yes.
It's something that He tells us to do, and it should come naturally when we're involved with Him. Because if you look throughout the gospel and just throughout the Bible, but if you focus on the gospel, one of the things Jesus consistently talked about, Paul echoed it, was that you're dying to your own self, right? You're crucified with Christ. You're dying with Him. You know, the whole thing of the baptism, you know, you're dying to your own self, you're rising again. And you're dying to yourself is a constant thing, right? One of the things Jesus told the disciples, deny yourself, pick up your cross and follow me. Right? And the reason I say that is because gratitude causes us to stop being self-focused and to be God-focused. Gratitude takes the focus off of us and makes us focus on God because He's the one that's given us everything. And when you become that, it's no longer about yourself. So it's a natural progression in the Christian walk is to be grateful. And if you're not grateful, you almost have to go back and say, man, what am I missing here?
Yeah.
It's almost like I'm missing something.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that you've died to your flesh and you're not grateful.
Yeah.
It's very hard, you know. Now, don't get me wrong. You can go through seasons of bitterness and hurt and pain. You can go through seasons. But somewhere down deep in your heart, there always has to be a gratefulness. And I'm not saying that you have to smile all the time or you got to say, God bless you, everyone. But down deep in your heart, you always know that God is there and He's helping you. And that's the piece. Like, the more you die to yourself, the more you become God-focused. The more you become God-focused, the more you become grateful. And that's why I truly believe that when Jesus gave those greatest commandments, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
Those things have to happen in that order, because when it happens in that order, then you become grateful. And out of that gratitude, you start helping others because you're grateful for what God's done.
Mm-hmm.
The problem that I think sometimes people have is they're still learning. They're great. Here's the thing, and this is my 2 cents on it. When you're grateful because of a circumstance, then once that feeling of the gratefulness of that circumstance disappears, then your gratefulness of helping others disappears.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if God healed you of something, you can be grateful for a year, months, many years. Mm-hmm. But if it's just based on that one piece, on that one circumstance, then it disappears. And you see that throughout the history. Go back to the Israelites leaving Egypt. They were grateful. They were worshiping God. They were grateful when they cross. You know, they get to the river.
Yeah.
You know, they become ungrateful.
Yeah.
They become ungrateful.
Yeah.
And then when God brings them through that circumstance, they become grateful again on the other side.
Yeah.
And then a matter of days later, they're thirsty and they're ungrateful.
Yeah.
Why? Because their gratefulness was just based on the circumstance. And once that wore off, then their gratefulness wore off.
Yeah.
Right? And so you start seeing that there's a different piece of what they're going to do. And that's one of the things I always, and I find it interesting. I'm not going to say, you know, how is my view on it. I think some of the commentaries would agree. But that's where you see the mindset shift of the next generation that goes into the promised land, right? There was a group that they just, you know what? Yeah, the circumstance kept wearing off, and they get to the promised land, and it's just too big, and so they become fearful, and they're worried about themselves, and so they're denied the promised land. And if you see when Joseph is gonna lead the tribes in, one of the first things they do is that he puts these stones there in the water, and they were supposed to recognize of what they've been to and be grateful to God of what He brought them to, because He was going to give them the promised land. And it was a whole different mindset of how they were going in versus the first generation going in. You know, because here he's thanking God before he has the victory. He's bringing the people into a place of worship and thanking God, even though the giants are still there. They're still fortified cities. It hasn't changed in those 40 years. Yeah. But they're still there. And so I think you see those pieces of how it changes when you become God-focused versus self-focused. And that's the thing. Like, if we're only grateful for a circumstance, that's going to wear off. But if you're grateful for who God is, that's never gonna wear off because God's always the same. It doesn't change. Like He's always the same. He's always that, and that's one of the things that you consistently see. Like I don't know. For me, it even reminds me of the story of the prodigal son. The father's characteristic didn't change. He was the same man he had always been. He didn't change.
It was the sons.
It was the two sons whose characteristic had to change and had to come out and see what was going on. Now, we don't know the end of the story. We don't know what happened. So we know one son's redeemed. The other one has a choice to make to go in. And we don't know if they were grateful to their father the rest of their life. But the point that to tie in there is the father never changed. He was the same. It's just they didn't know his characteristic. And that's the same thing with us. When we don't know God's characteristic, it's hard for us to be truly grateful because we have an image of who God is, but we don't know who He is. But the moment you get to know God and you know His characteristics, and you know that He loves you unconditionally, that He has your best at heart, that He's going to do all things that are good for you, even if it's through circumstances and issues and trials. All of a sudden you become grateful because you know that He's tied into all of that.
I mean, look at the story of Abraham and how when he was going to sacrifice his son, I'm sure he was grateful that he didn't kill his son. Who else in the Bible? Look, let's be honest. It shouldn't even be Thanksgiving. I don't know. Maybe they should change the name of it. Really, because if the day we should be most thankful is the day that Jesus Christ was born for all of us and died and suffered for all of the sins and the things that we're going to do past, present, and future. If anything, that's the thing that we should be most grateful for. I mean, Thanksgiving is good. It's a good time to have and spend with your family and make memories and, eat food and all of that. But you could do that every day. You could do that every day, man. Every day. Yeah. So for me, Thanksgiving should be the day that Jesus Christ was born. We should be most thankful for that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think that the one day, which will be Thursday, it makes everybody stop for a while in life and just to focus on giving thanks. Because going back to what Tony was talking on the prodigal son, the father, and it's true, the father never changes. God never leaves us. We leave God. You see, when we shy away from our relationship with God, And if you notice when the son that rebelled came back and the father was happy to see him back, and he threw a big party and all that, then you see the attitude of the older son. It changed right away. He got all mad, and he told his father, "You have never thrown me a party. I've been working." Look at what he said. "I've been working. I've been the one that's been faithful here, doing this, doing that, and you never thrown me a party." And the father told him, "Son, anytime you wanted a party, you could have had it."
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And sometimes that's the same way with Christianity, when we don't, we focus so much on ourselves. Well, I'm doing this for God, I'm doing that for God, and then somebody gets saved and starts rejoicing in God, and the church rejoices because somebody got saved. The ones that are working and don't have a relationship with God, it starts bothering them because they're laboring, and it shouldn't be like that. We should always be grateful no matter what,
100%
and you're right. Every day should be a day of thanksgiving, a day of giving thanks, and but human nature is always gonna be the flesh is always gonna try to want what it wants, and not focus on what, and not focus on what we have.
Yeah,
you see, because the Bible says He supplies our needs.
Yeah,
once in a while He'll supply our wants.
Yeah.
But He supplies. Look at Paul.
Yeah,
Paul prayed. Says he prayed, and all God would tell him, "My grace is sufficient for you." When he had that thorn on the side, when he had that pain, it was bothering him real bad.
Right.
God never told him He was gonna heal him. He just told him, "My grace is sufficient for you." And another thing I liked about Paul, that he said, "You know what? I've learned how to live when I have, and I learned how to be thankful when I don't have. You know, and that's the way we should be. You know, but you know, if it starts with one day, which is the day that we celebrated here on Thanksgiving, you know, it's a good start for us, and hopefully people will not only give thanks that day, but every day, no matter what life has happened, you know, you know, the things, you know, because, you know, some people have it worse than we do. You know, right before, you know, we did the podcast, I was looking at the news, and some tornadoes hit in some, I think in Houston and all that, and in other places. People's houses, lights were turned upside down, you know. Some didn't even know where they were going to celebrate their Thanksgiving because the houses were destroyed. But, you know, I like what one man said, but at least I'm thankful because I have my family. My kids are here. They're safe, my wife and myself. You know, what we lost is material things, but we still have each other. You know, and sometimes that's the way spiritual life is. Sometimes the devil throws a tornado, or life throws a tornado. It's not always the devil. Life throws a tornado and destroys things in our lives. You know, turns it upside down. And that's what God wants to see, how we're going to react. Are we going to be thankful, grateful?
And going back to what we were talking about, like here's from Deuteronomy chapter 8, and I recommend you read the whole chapter. This is as they're preparing to enter into the promised land. In the first couple of scriptures, and I'm only going to read a few of them, it says, "Be careful to follow every command I am giving you today, so that you may live and increase and may enter and possess the land the Lord promised on an oath to your ancestors. Remember how the Lord your God led you all the way in the wilderness these 40 years to humble and test you in order to know what was in your heart, whether or not you would keep his commandments." And he talks about that, but then jumping to 10, because he knows human nature. And this is one of the most interesting parts, and something that there's a spiritual piece to it. There's a physical one in this one, but spiritual, I think. In verse 10, it says, "And when you have eaten and are satisfied, praise the Lord your God for the good land he has given you. Be careful that you do not forget the Lord your God, failing to observe his commandments, his commands, his laws, and his decrees that I am giving you this day. Otherwise, when you eat and are satisfied, when you build fine houses and settle down, and when your herds and flocks grow large, and your silver and gold increases, and all you have is multiplied, then your heart will become proud, and you will forget the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery, who led you through the vast and dreadful wilderness, that thirsty and waterless land with its venomous snakes and scorpions. He brought you water out of the rock." And it keeps going from there. But one of the things he tells them, he's like, be thankful for what God has given you, because if not, he's like, you're gonna forget. He's like, after you know, and he's telling them this, and this is something that happens to them. You know, they go and they take the promised land, and that first generation that takes the promised land, they're grateful, they're growing, they're being led by judges, but then all of a sudden you see they need a king, and they've forgotten who God is. You know, they've forgotten that piece, because what happened? Their flocks grew, they're eating, they're satisfied, they got gold, they got silver, everything they have is multiplying, they're becoming this great nation, and they forget who God is. They forget that God brought them out of Israel, right? And you see that constantly happening throughout, you know, from the time they're there through the books of the Judges, and then you see it in the Kings, and that's why even like a great example of it is you see it up to the point where they're there and they're facing Goliath. You know, they're facing one giant when their ancestors came in and faced a whole bunch of giants to take it over. And you see that because they've forgotten. And that's one of the things, like when our gratefulness is based on a circumstance, or we can get comfortable. And the way it ties to spirituality is we're not constantly grateful for who God is. We can get into this routine of a relationship with God, and somewhere down the line our gratefulness will stop, because we're not seeking who he is and his characteristics and continuously getting to know him, but it becomes a routine. And it could be, you know, you're flourishing, your family's been restored, you're growing in your businesses, you're doing well, your ministries are growing, whatever it may be, all those things are going. And it can be easy to forget all the things the little things that God's giving you life every day, that he's doing these things, that he's with you, that he's helping you. And that's one of the things that for gratitude is has to constantly be God focused. It has to be that constant on who God is, that you're thankful because of his love, his mercy, and his grace. That doesn't change. That doesn't change. Our circumstances, our life may change, but God doesn't change.
Never will.
And I think that's where our gratitude has to be anchored in that.
It's going back to like, all that we're saying, do not forget, because that's why I always say, a lot of us, we follow the blessing and not the blesser. And the blesser is God. Yeah. Because look at Saul, King Saul. He was anointed by God, even though he was chosen by the people. Yeah. He had the Spirit of God, because when he disobeyed, he finally did the worst thing. The worst he could do. Oh, yeah. And God told him, "I'm taking away my Spirit." You see, and I've chosen somebody else. Yeah. And check that out. He didn't take away his blessing. He still had his kingship. He had everything. His army and everything, but he could not enjoy it because the Spirit of God wasn't with him no more. And his focus now was on David, because David had the Spirit of God. And he found that out because when he was being tormented, they told him about a musician that would play the harp and music and that would bring peace. And he brought him in, and when David would sing and worship God, the peace of God would come upon Saul. But the moment that David stopped, because the Spirit of God wasn't with him no more, it would torment him. And you get mad. He even tried to kill David once after he finished playing. So God never leaves us. That's for sure. But we can leave God. And I mean, spiritually, you separate because you don't read the word and all that, and because it's true. Human nature is being routine. We're routine people, and it's so easy to say, "Oh, I have a relationship because I'm praying, reading the Bible," but you're doing it out of more of obligation and not a relationship. And it's like a friendship relationship. A husband and wife relationship, when you do it because you're obligated, you're not going to enjoy that relationship. But when you do it because you know what, your friends and your wife is your best friend, your husband your best friend, or your friends that you have, or your friends, then you're going to enjoy that time of fellowship, that time of relationship, because you know what, you're working on the relationship, knowing the person. When you don't know the person, you're not going to enjoy it.
And one of the things I'll say as we start wrapping up is, and something you said, it kind of triggered something I heard. We can say we're always praying to God, right? But prayer is communicating with God, and communicating means talking and listening. A lot of times we're good at talking. A lot of times we're not good at listening. So if we're not listening to God in our prayers, then we're not really communicating with him, because we're not allowing him to talk to us. And that's one of the things that I would say, and I remember hearing that, and it just kind of reminded me, like, man, whenever I just shut up and sat there in God and just say, okay, Lord, you tell me, right? And you tell, and then also the form of my prayer. Am I always just going and asking him, or am I thanking him? And I think those are things to look at as we kind of wrap up. I think be grateful in God, be anchored in him, and there's nothing wrong with Thanksgiving. I enjoy Thanksgiving. I think it's good to get together. We're going to eat. We're going to have a good time. I'll probably say something controversial right now. Like I pre-said it. I make the turkey for us, but I never think, no matter who makes the turkey never turkey is one of those things I can only eat once a year, really. Like, I'm not a big, I don't know why it's a centerpiece for Thanksgiving, but for whatever reason, like turkey, I can have it once. And maybe every once in a while I have a turkey sandwich, but it's not like chicken or steak or something where I'm like, oh, I can eat that every day.
I got you.
Turkey is just one of those things where it's I'm going to eat it at Thanksgiving, but would it have been the choice I would have picked for Thanksgiving? Like, I don't know why. There was wild turkeys there where they were at, so they were able.
Right now, that's what they were asking: the turkey versus the ham. And then in the world news, they were asking, which one would you prefer, the turkey or the ham?
We're going turkey. We're doing pork loin. I feel like ham's just so much sodium.
Hey, don't sleep on pork loin.
And as long as I have my rice and beans
And tortilla.
and tortillas,
I don't want to.
they don't get. That's one thing they veto. But as long as I have rice and beans. Okay, Marco, what are you gonna say?
I'm gonna have a pumpkin pie from Bill Miller's, which is gotten smaller and doesn't taste as great, but still need to have one. But no, I think with that, like, enjoy your Thanksgiving. Oh yeah,
What are you gonna
I'm
say?
gonna turn up his mic a bit. What are you gonna say for Thanksgiving?
A Grinch is a bad dude, but he's also a good dude.
He's a bad dude.
And
Say that for the Christmas episode. What about Thanksgiving? What are you thankful for?
Happy Thanksgiving.
What are you thankful for?
This is the ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are you
Say
thankful
what you're
for?
thankful
Happy Thanksgiving and like and subscribe so we can get
Yeah, it's the like.
Oh, we gonna definitely edit that and put that on.
10
Like and subscribe.
subscribers.
Yeah, right.
Hit the like and subscribe button. We got the QR code. We'll be putting that up.
Yeah.
You know, for anyone that wants to donate to the church, and then as well as we have the church podcast. I mean, the church YouTube channel for the services. Go
Yes.
and subscribe to that. We're at 45. When I looked at it, we gotta get 50 so we can live stream. So we need at least 5 more, but we can get that way
Yeah,
higher.
we
so.
can get there.
So keep subscribing. We got an Instagram that's going up for the church. So we'll be cutting hopefully some of these things and putting it up there as well.
Yeah.
So we got quite a bit coming. But again, wish you guys all a happy Thanksgiving and hit that like and subscribe button. And what do you want to say, Marcos?
What else?
Say it louder.
We got a great. This is the end.
Say happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving and watch Puss in Boots in Minecraft.
All right. Happy Thanksgiving and watch Puss in Boots and Minecraft.